Time for another draft physics video presentation. Comments on AB Science's video. It's, worth countering, arguing the supportive mush that somehow he made an argument proving anything or demonstrating anything. When again, the whole reason why the video was provoked was to debunk my arguments, essentially. That was exactly why he's making this video, is because somebody suggested it in the context of my theory. Did he debunk any of the elements of my theory? No. Did he pay any attention? No. Did he give a damn? No. Yeah, so it is what it is. Evasion, shenanigans, bullshit. That's all there is, unfortunately. Just people suck. Sad. But yes, it's this pitiful planet of, buganoids, just haven't grown up yet, human beings. Not even close. Alright, so anyway, so we'll read some of this crap. Alright, so first, the typical person who has to correct somebody because they mispronounced a word. Now, the only thing that makes this Poincaré argument at all interesting is that he's done some Ken Wheeler response videos, and Ken Wheeler says Poincaré like every 400th word is Poincaré, so he should know something about how to pronounce his name. Second, the guy is sort of a real player in the sense that he was really big on this whole electrodynamic stuff and contributed some relevant math and all that kind of crap. That's why he's a meaningful character, and so it's just kind of surprising that a doctorate in physics. No, I never heard of him. Anyway. Alright, so is there an additional problem with screening? So screening, this is hardly a good way to describe particle gravity, right? I mean, the simple way to describe it is just to say particle gravity. Because that's what it is. It's particle gravity, okay? You don't need to call it screening or whatever that is. Okay, as if you're going to force it to be a screen when that's not what's being argued. But anyway. If particles can exert pressure on a planet, yeah, well, that's what they're doing right now. That's why the center of the Earth is all molten and hot. It's because it's a hell of a lot of pressure being created by something real, not something fake. So your alternative explanation is nothing is bent and creating pressure. Nothing. Oh, that's really interesting, except totally incomprehensible. I can't do a damn thing with that. Alright, and hence the force, they must lose kinetic energy. So they say this stuff, they must lose. So if I have a bulldozer and it's going 30 miles an hour, and then I force the bulldozer to bulldoze your stupid little crappy shack of a crappy house, and now the bulldozer is only going 20 miles an hour, and it bulldozes your crappy little house, and then the house is gone, it's all mush and pushed off to the sides, and now the bulldozer goes back to 50 miles an hour. Did something lose kinetic energy? Well, yeah, a bulldozer lost a little bit of time, didn't it? Yeah, it slowed down a little bit. Yeah, it wasn't going quite as fast, so that's a little bit of momentum lost. But other than that, it's fine. No problem. Just moves on to the next asshole's house. Yeah. What's the problem? Oh, that's right. There isn't one. So there. Simple. Almost, second grader could get it. Is the bulldozer disabled? Is the bulldozer crippled for life? No, it's not. It goes right back to what it was doing as soon as it's done pushing something. That's too complex an idea for you guys, huh? Okay. This implies that in the cave where are the particles, this implies that in a cave there are particles with much less energy remaining. So again, that's your theory. I mean, it never even occurred to me to do that to a particle theory, frankly. I mean, I already knew the speed of light stuff was what all this force stuff was always doing. And there wasn't some photon I could shoot, unless I put it through some medium, of course, and I forced it to ricochet all over the place or do something else to slow it down. This stuff never slows down, okay? It reflects off the same speed. It doesn't reflect slower. You can change wavelength, but that's a whole different concept, right? You can't change the fact that the particle's moving the speed of light. So why would it even occur to me to sit there and play some game like, oh yeah, you can create slow forces? Sure. No, there's no reason for that to even occur to you that there could be such a thing as a force moving slowly. Okay, if at all. I mean, beyond the context of the force is occupied when it's moving matter. So you would weigh less under the roof, much less in a cave. Or do I miss something? Yeah, you missed the whole point of the argument, okay? It's the fact is that you do weigh less, Einstein. I mean, let's see if AB Science picks that up and says, well, yeah, of course you do weigh less. And go deeper into the Earth. Guess what? Now there's Earth above you. All right, and that's gravitationally pulling you in the opposite direction. And there's less Earth below you. That means there's less gravity, douche. Okay, not more. There's less, douche. Shit. So you're not too smart, Walter Bislin. So let's see. I haven't read any of this ahead of time, so who the hell knows? But let's see if AB Science catches that. Yes, I think you're right. Okay, so he thinks that he's right that hey, how come you don't weigh less when you do? I suppose the issue is whether you take the formulation in which the particles are absorbed or deflected so the whole point is exactly, it really matters on whether you're going to force everything to be your physics or whether you're going to have the open mind thing and accept that, oh yeah, well, there can be different kinds of mechanical explanations. There can be steel balls that bounce into buildings, or there can be bulldozers. There can be different mechanisms, and they're going to have different rules. Oh, yeah, if you accept that reality, then maybe there is an argument where, yeah, I can explain how it happened. It wasn't a wrecking ball, it was a bulldozer. Okay, in the case of the former, you'd definitely be a bit lighter. Well, there you go. So I'm glad you counter-argued him. I suppose that this could work, as below the Earth's crust, acceleration due to gravity is literally proportional to the distance to the center of the Earth, I guess he's going to say. Yes, center of the Earth. Well, it's proportional at the inverse square law. The same rules apply. Okay. It is the latter case. Something interesting would happen. A fraction of the particles would bounce off the floor of the cave and then bounce off the ceiling to subsequently bounce off the floor again, and so on. Oh, so now he's buying into some sort of argument that all the forces that hitting a proton might be different than hitting an electron. Yeah, maybe that's the invention of charge in here somewhere. The ultra-mundane corpuscles would build up on the cave over time. So that's, again, his argument based on no rational theory, in the sense that I can make the cave smaller and smaller and smaller. I can make the distance between material bits smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so that theory kind of goes nowhere, in terms of a reasoned theory. Because that would be true if there was no cave. It's still momentum in one direction. The initial momentum is always conserved in any system. The initial momentum is always conserved. It should be interesting to see. You can't have a reflection unless you absorb some opposite force, right? So if you're going to go bounce into something, I'm going to go bounce off something. What are you doing when you do that? Oh, that's right. You can't bounce off of it until you actually hit something that's going the opposite way, right? You kind of have to hit the opposite force. Okay, so if you're doing it a lot, you start pushing into the opposite force, don't you? Yes, you do. Okay, it would be interesting to model this out and see what effect this would have. Oh, there you go. So it would be interesting to do, and physics obviously couldn't care less for hundreds of years doing anything like that. And so all of a sudden now you say it would be interesting to, well, maybe we should model some of this, and maybe we should spend a little time working on it instead of all this wooey ghosts, instead of believing in all this phantasmagorical, entangled nonsense. Maybe you should spend a little bit of time thinking about how, well, maybe a mechanical theory does work. Oh, so bad. Extremely interesting. Yes, it's interesting to get a big pile of propaganda that gives you just one side of the argument and doesn't allow anybody to counter-argue. That's always so interesting to just hear one side. and hear it all presented to you completely unopposed when it was easily opposed, as I performed the opposition. I did so rather comically at points, too. Maybe in the description I'll leave a link to yesterday, just a little portion of where I'm doing my Einstein imitation. It is kind of funny. Yeah. This is a great illustration of how scientific hypotheses get tested. No, it's exactly the opposite. It's a great illustration of propaganda, okay? And just how you can take all the evidence of one thing, about any subject, about any kind of people or politics. You can take all the counter arguments and just pretend none of the other arguments exist. All the arguments on your side, and just pretend none of the other arguments exist. That's all it's an example of. Let's see. Tested, developed, and get discarded or eventually advanced to theories. No, they get discarded by silly things like Feynman says. Well, it's like running in the rain. More rain hits you in the face, so therefore it can't work. So instead of thinking about it and looking at the evidence, right? Feynman's supposed to understand electrons and protons. He should have understood that, yeah, it is kind of weird how they don't fly in space any. I mean, why is it just electrons and protons that can't get through the space? How come the big giant helium nucleus can plow through everything, and get here? It doesn't hit too much stuff. It doesn't get slowed down and stopped. But electrons and protons do. Maybe you should have thought about that. Maybe you should have figured out that electrons and protons aren't raindrops. Anyway, now people see the Earth clearly. Oh dear, this is flat crap. Clearly flat, motionless, and at rest. Well, whatever. We don't need flat earthers on any channel. Oh, 21 replies. I mean, this is just too silly. So they waste time sitting there arguing some flat earth asswipe. Okay, so he says someone has done that and published in a paper, peer-reviewed article. Well, peer review is just so funny. You could have a good laugh reading some of those papers. Let's see. So this is GS Journal. So let's see what he's saying here. Now that people see the Earth is clearly flat, motionless, and at rest, covered by a dome firmament, perhaps we should resist some of the ether theories to see how they might work after all. Maybe we should revisit ether. All right, well, anyway. I'm not going to waste time on flat earth crap, but ether crap is just as bad. Well, it's not just as bad. Well, anyway, we're not going to bother with this. Round Earth Observer. Oh, such a great name. I wish I thought of that. Anyway, great content, but your voice has too much low frequency and thus is quite muffled. I can't believe the things people complain about. I would say, if I was AB, fuck you. If I recall, I mixed this on headphones with poor bass response. Oh, yeah, what it does have? It is a little verby, because when I play it a little bit loud, it gets reverby. We'll have to keep this in mind until my stuff is all set up again. Thanks. Whatever his stuff is. It's not that complicated, really. I mean, you don't have to do that much, because obviously I'm not doing that much. But anyway, I don't think the Everett interpretation posits anything other than the wave function. Okay, so the many worlds are not posited additionally. They just seem to come about as a consequence of our inadequate language and limited perception. Well, that you certainly haven't listened to Sean Carroll, because that's not what he's saying. So Everett doesn't need to posit additional worlds to explain anything. The wave function alone is sufficient. The point is they're saying the entire composite that is our world, that means the entire universe, anything interacting with me, has to be duplicated to create the universe that is one tiny photon different. The whole thing has to be duplicated. You can't do it within the one universe. So, I mean, that's a silly argument, frankly. Fantastic. Well, that's just too brilliant. I can science that. Yeah, see, they're all such smart people, these commenters. Let's go look at who can science that. So he has some kind of cartoon. Okay. And science for skeptics to the law of relative density. Well, let's just see a little bit of it, just for fun.
Hello, and welcome back to Science for Skeptics.
Oh, God. Fuck. Let's jump ahead a little bit.
Subscribe to Kingsford Direct.
129 views. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. No, I can't.
Really?
129,000 views for that crap. Oh, this is just such a terrible planet. Anyway, I don't think... Okay, that's what we just did. Oh, so I linked to the wrong guy? I thought that... Oh, no, this is fantastic. Yeah, he was this non-brilliant point he made. So obviously this is my comment that I'm not allowed to further comment on. So I'm not allowed to respond to any of this crap spewed by these stupid retards. It's so unfair. I already did it in the video a while back, so won't redo it. I teach history of science. So this is Professor Hank. Yeah, okay. Oh, shit. He's a professor. Maybe I'll play some of his videos. That ought to be funny. I teach history of science. Well, that's scary as fuck. Well done. Well, why? Why is it well done? Because it's really not a very good history. I wish I had time in my course to go down all the interesting trails. So let's see what AB Science says to this mush. The history of science is sadly a much neglected topic. But then I suppose that, well, you know what's neglected is any kind of depth, yes, of investigation, in the sense that nobody talks about the Eddington experiment and points out, well, he wrote in his own journal, I wouldn't stake my life on these results. That's how bad, okay, the experiment went. The experiment went so badly that he's, really depressed, like, oh shit, this is going to suck. And it did suck. I mean, it wasn't a big surprise that it was so much better than he thought it would be. He thought he was going to get 10,000 stars on his photographic plate, 10,000. He got 1,000. That's 1/10 what his expectations were. Yeah, that's pretty dismal, right? But it made New York headlines, New York Times headlines. It's such a great experiment. So nobody knows the truth. Nobody cares. But then I suppose that you have to concede that the standard physics degree probably only covers about 1% of physics. Well, that's spooky. And apparently the only percent you cover is the wacky part. So yeah, that's about right. There's so much to talk about and so little time. Yeah, well, you don't seem to use yours very constructively. That would be my argument. Yeah, the parts to talk about are the fact that your answers suck and your evidence sucks even more. Okay, I've dropped the link to one of my musical pixie dust believers. I wonder if he will bother responding. So, magical pixie dust. Oh, he dropped a link where? Where did you drop this? Oh, he dropped the link to them. Oh, isn't that interesting? Why does some of this remind me of current astrophysics and dark matter? Oh, well, that's pretty funny. Let's see what he responds to that with. So, Scott, I don't know whether he's saying it on purpose, but that's a good little bit of a joke in the sense that, oh, it sounds just as silly as. Let's see what AB Science says. Because there are some distinct similarities, just like the ether theories, dark matter is used to explain away the bits that don't add up. Oh, there, he's admitting dark matter is a pile of fucking made-up shit. And that's all bent spaces. It's just the simple God of the gaps answer. It's a God theory. I mean, it's the nothing is telling the something what to do. That's pretty much saying God did it. Oversimplifying a bit here. The other similarity, of course, is that dark matter is also not considered to be conformed. I don't even know what that means, but fine. The fact is, it's a vacuous, empty, silly, gremlin-esque pile of crap as an explanation for an event. Things are happening and you come up with some kind of, well, what if the invisible man is real, then couldn't he have done it, and blah, 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 blah. Alright, pretty good evidence something exists. We have observed gravitational lensing caused by dark matter halos around galaxies. You haven't observed shit that makes any damn sense. So all of the galactic images make no mathematical sense. If you try to make it rational with math, you'll never do it. Einstein rings that are so thick, you know, no chance that there's any theory of an Einstein ring coming out that thick. But they believe anyway. True, but that could very well be because we don't fully understand gravity. Yeah, that's right. So he just did a video saying, well, we've basically proven everything else can't be right, so this crazy, silly, stupid theory must be. Dark matter is the simplest solution. No, it's the cheater solution. There's lots of simple solutions. Again, you could just argue gremlins are moving the things in the galaxy around. You could argue that, but it wouldn't be much worse than arguing for dark matter. Okay, but the question remains whether it is a correct one. Well, the odds are against it because it's just fucking made up. That's the first problem with it. There's just absolutely zero evidence any such magical substance exists. No reason to believe there's a whole different periodic table somewhere with a whole bunch of other shit in it. No good reason to believe. I'm kind of hoping that dark matter is wrong. That would be far more exciting. So it's all about how exciting it is. You know, physics has to be pretty and have big breasts, or I'm not interested. The other big question, where is all the missing mass? I don't know. Primordial black holes. Yeah, well, where are any of the black holes, frankly? Where is any of this notion of compressing matter beyond reasonable compression? Where does any of that make any sense? Why does that make sense to you people? I put the same electron in the same space that this other electron is in. Why does that make sense to any of you fuckheads? Alright, some of these ideas weren't a million kilometers away from stuff like virtual particles and the Kashmir effect. Oh, well, nobody understands that. I mean, the Kashmir effect is like, duh, stupid. Yeah, you have two plates that aren't charged, and you push them into each other. The fact is, both of them have the same surface. That is, electrons are on their surface. And one of them is going to have to say, okay, I'll push my electrons back, and you push your electrons forward. They're going to have to become compatible, which means one side's going to have to go positive, and one side's going to have to go negative. And it's just going to be a cascade. One side's going to win. It's just like if I throw marbles in a gravity well, in both directions, one side's going to win. One side, there's more momentum on one side, and those are the guys that are going to win in the end. And everything's going to be going one way. That's the way it's going to work out. Not too hard to figure out. Let's see what Dopey's answer is. A bit, but not quite. Okay, some of those ideas weren't a million kilometers away from stuff like virtual particles and the Kashmir effect. So they really didn't go very deep into any of that stuff. But yes, virtual particles, oh please. When is physics going to grow up enough to say, yeah, we can't really be saying shit like that because that just sounds silly. Virtual things are doing it. I mean, bent, but you know, nothing space is doing things, and now virtual things are doing things. Come on. I mean, bad answer. Added to my favorites, not under Flat Earth Fighters AB Science, but under Science Cosmology. And another comment by the same dumbass. Feeds ravens. Well, that's a good thing to do, maybe, but fuck you. That was very good. It shows that science is not a dogma. So just amazing. So somehow he showed how it's not a dogma when it basically destroyed a line of thinking for basically superficial reasons. I mean, it's superficial. Making an argument like, well, more rain's going to hit you in the face and therefore it can't be possible. is kind of a small-minded act, not a big-minded act. Okay? It is something where people consistently question everything. You don't question anything. You don't allow questioning of anything. That's what the evidence shows. If you go on one of these physics message boards, you cannot question their authority. You can't. You'll be blocked and kicked off. Like the flat earth gurus tell us you should do. Well, whatever. And come up with a hypothesis how things could be. How the world could be better described, explained. The difference is look, he has the word mechanical in the title, implying that the other theories are non-mechanical. And why would you accept a non-mechanical theory? Because that's God. Okay, oh, look at all this crap. And then the hypothesis is scrutinized by themselves and others. Yeah, right, scrutinized in what? An environment of complete ignorance. They can't scrutinize the idea very deeply because they didn't even know what atoms were, for fuck's sake. And so they made their decision to close the book before they had any reason to close the book. But the book hadn't even come close to trying to write the story yet. It didn't have enough information, clearly, as Newton clearly pointed out what good science was. He had lots of opinions, but he didn't sit there and say, I'm publishing this opinion as the truth. No, he said, I don't posit, He said, I don't sit there and waste your time, speculating. When I know something, I'll let you know what I know. But all based on the thorough knowledge that what we know for sure. So he thinks we know something for sure about this bent space existing. Like Lawrence Krauss said, each day I have 10 great ideas how the universe works. At the end of the day, all 10 are in the waste bin. Yes, because they're all full of woo. Okay, but you can't start over. You have to always start with some silly premise that, you'll have to account for the fact that the electrons are hiding from us and we can't know too much about them. But science also keeps the failed attempts to know that someone had that idea before and why it was wrong. So again, he knows why it was wrong. He knows he got all the right information and he made the right decision. No, you just you just jumped on a stupid bandwagon. And the bandwagon's playing a silly song. Woolly particles, nothing doing something, virtual stuff. I mean, the song sucks. And you jumped on. Shit. Of course, the challenge is to keep track of all the wrong ideas. Yeah, like what? Dark matter? It has everything. It has all appearances of being a wrong idea. Of all the ideas that were wrong, and it was difficult to find out if someone else had already had the same wrong idea as you. Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't really matter. It's just about it's a mechanical system. It does certain mechanical things. You just make a list of the things it does and then you describe something that can do it. And as I pointed out, if I just make the universe out of big boulders and very fast bulldozers, I can explain it all. Alright. 1905 and 1915 by big years for E. But you left out his 1911 paper. Well, that would be in between. So, LOL. I don't even know why that's hilarious. I left out many of his papers. Significantly, I don't want to go into the actual development of GR, and really just because describe the environment in which it was developed. Maybe I will actually do a video about Newton's story and another video about GR and the credible effort to finding an alternative. The credible efforts to find an alternative. The credible efforts made out of virtual photons and entanglement and Heisenberg and de Broglie, everything is a wave theory. Yeah, you're good luck. I predict failure. Alright, the latter one is a tricky beast though. Yes, well, you're not even going to come close. Well, I'll be interested in your thoughts on 1911 and the Harmon Mikowski steering towards a purely geometric solution. I ran out of brain cells and decided I don't have enough smarts on the subject, so I'd be interested to see how that history came about from someone with a lot more brain power. Yeah, well, there was lots of papers written about all this black hole crap too, and how it's, it seems a nonsensical road to travel to say you can compress matter just to the point where matter is on top of matter, where it's occupying the same space. It just seems kind of silly to say you can theoretically put all the giant boulders in the same place. Yeah, no, you can't. Failed hypotheses are nice to show science advances through the ages. La 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 la. And you know something about it? No, you don't, Dora. I appreciate more of these failed ideas seen from our current knowledge. So he didn't look at them from our current knowledge. He looked at them through our past knowledge. See, our current knowledge is that electrons and protons don't act the same way as Volkswagens. And as much as you silly people want to say they're the same thing, they're not the same thing at all. Shit. All right, excellent, riveting stuff. Thank you. Oh, riveting. Yeah, sure it was. Should you have a further month of lockdown issue? Oh, so he's going to ask a bunch of who cares questions. Okay, never mind. The history of science, and probably the science of history, is interesting stuff. The fact that human beings struggle with ideas and concepts, right, and trying to figure out what's really efficient, is it worth watching your kids die of the plague? I mean, there's lots of interesting questions to ask, and yes, human beings, generally speaking, answer the questions with religious gibberish, and that's what physics is doing. It has got us, I mean, shit, go watch the most recent PBS video, right, that stupid time-space thing, or whatever the fuck it is, space-time. What a pile of shit. Talking about free will. When the obvious thing to bring out about free will is it doesn't make any sense as a combination of words. Free from what? How can you will something free? Free of what? What are you free from? Free from your education? Free from knowing 2 + 2? Free from what? Free. What does it even mean, free? What they're arguing is whether we have innate better will. Like there's some kind of I knew better and I could have done better, blah, 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 kind of crap. And that somehow my will is going to be, I could have chosen the better choice if I wasn't really horny at the time, right? I mean, there's no such thing. Your will isn't controlled by something called freedom. Oh, it's so stupid. It's confined will. That's the whole point. A good will is going to be a disciplined will. A will that knows, oh, that doesn't work out in the end. Oh, Las Vegas, bad idea. Let's not go there. I mean, that's a smart will. It has nothing to do with freedom. It has to do with knowledge. A knowledgeable will. Well, we know that knowledgeable will isn't free. You don't get that for free. You got to go get it. Oh, it's just so stupid. Shouldn't even be a conversation. Free will. It's so fucking stupid. There's no such thing as free. There's just absence of impediment. That's it. The impediment is the dark space. Free is the white space. It's containing the words. It's the paper the words are written on. It's not the substance of the concept. There is no concept of free. There's just the concept of restraint. Okay, it has got us to our current understanding of what things are and why they do what they do. Yes, and your understanding is all based on a bunch of magical properties, period. All magic. But may I suggest that if the entire knowledge of the universe was a coloring book, yes, with bulldozers and rocks in it, marked is... Mankind is still working on the particle, I think that's what it says, practice page, and a many thousand-page book. But even, this is so stupid. We have a ton of evidence. We have a ton of reasons to believe things, and so this idea that we don't know anything is kind of bullshit. You just don't want to start over and put it together the right way. You want to just keep all of the wrong ideas that have been shoved into the book, like Benjamin Franklin getting plus and minus wrong, and they didn't fix it. And so now they have Maxwell equations that have stupid ideas in them, that current goes one way and voltage goes the opposite way, when you know that can't be true. But even though we know so little, what we do know is fascinating. However, there are some people who believe we should discount and ignore everything we have ever learned. Well, I don't know. Show me that person. Whether we should go back, I think we should go back at least 100 years. Yeah, and just say, forget everything they've said for the last 100 years. That was all crap. Let's take the new experiments, put them in a suitcase, and then go back to, 1900, and realize that we're not ready to say it's been space. We call these science deniers flat-tards and the whatever vaxxers. Yeah, you call them names. Well, I'm calling you a name. Asshole. You're a fucking asshole, Trevor Austin. Okay, that was also the first time I ever heard a tuber suggesting that potential financial supporters should instead focus on local people. Oh, yes, well, he was just doing that gratuitously. He was doing it to, oh, I'm above all of this. I'm a superior being on this, charming planet full of phantasmagorical ideas that I am a purveyor of. I bless the people with the phantasmagorical ideas, like some pope, with his little smoking urn. Oh, breathe in the smoke of bullshit. It's really our farts condensed. Yes. Ah, fuck. And you fell for that? He's got pathetic ads on his video. Oh, I don't care about the money. Anyway, you are to be commended for putting ads on your video to bring what James May would describe as a good chap. Yeah, well, fuck that. It's obviously not a good chap. He's a coward. He calls other people names and then he runs the fuck away. Alright. Lovely as ever. Oh dear. It's Jon Snow. I will sum up. We don't know where the energy goes. You don't know where the energy comes from. You have no theory of energy for a magnet. You have no theory of energy for gravity. None. You're pretending they're not energetic events. They are happening through some magical process through which there is no energetic mediator. There is no force. You've taken the whole concept out of the equation. So it's just boulder, and there's no bulldozers. Nope, there's just boulders decide to go somewhere. Oh, well, it's in a magnetic field, and the boulder just decides to go that way, or the boulder decides to come towards me for no fucking good reason. That's your fucking theory. Again, I mean, a kid wouldn't fall for this shit. What? The boulder's sitting there and nothing whispers to it and tells it has to go that way and it goes that way? What are you talking about? What moved the boulder? Okay. Let's ask our friend Kent. Oh, whatever. Theoretopolis. His name is Ken. It says Kent here. No. Ken, not Kent. Okay, Wheeler, and behold, he has the answer, a counter space. Yes, well, whatever. That is just too silly. And since he did not provide any clues whatsoever, so, I mean, what's your clue for your bent space? I mean, it's just so funny. They're mocking Ken Wheeler's counter space, which is actually ether, right? So counter space is the white space of the page. So Ken Wheeler's basically arguing without the white space, there is no letters on the page, right? So it's the counter space that makes the letters possible. All right. And that certainly makes more fucking sense than, well, nothing told the boulder where to go. Absolute nothing did it. Might be apart from, I mean, you know, the geodesic did it. Mr. Geodesic, you know, just poofs out of nowhere like the homunculus. Yes, the homunculus is running our free will brain, and, you know, the bent geodesic is moving the boulders. And this is supposed to be called science. Not even, I don't think it's, no, I don't think it qualifies as a proper definition of science. I am working on a, look at all this, hypothesis with a goal to explain that phenomenon properly. Bear with me. First of all, I think that the implication provided by AB Science himself, paused, praise be thee, whatever that is. This CS is to be found in kitchens is false. And oh, I don't know, he's making some long Ken Wheeler joke. Oh, well, forget it. No, thank you. Currently redoing my kitchen and can confirm that counter space really sucks away your energy. Oh, that's how hilarious. Interesting as always. No, not interesting. Horrible. Excuse me, please, but I have a question. I've a question out of topic. That'd be off topic. See, they don't even get off, on, out, in. You know, even these words are confusing, some of these commenters. Why states everyone who talks about Albert Einstein that he is a German? Oh, man. He was born in Switzerland. Yeah, it's not where he lived, though. So he grew up in Switzerland. Well, so what? He grew up most of the time in Germany. He went to school in Switzerland. He studied in Switzerland. He worked in Switzerland until he became a professor in a German university. Anyway. Yeah, well, you know, Einstein didn't claim to be a citizen. He didn't like being a citizen of any country, so, you know, that was kind of a weird thing, but whatever. He didn't even want to go to America, frankly. He just knew he had to. Einstein was born in Ulm. He took on the Swiss nationality at the start of the 20th century. As a German, I claim Einstein for Germany, and let's hope no one from the U.S. will get involved. I don't know what all this... That's Jon Snow again. Oh, okay. You're right. I think I've made a mistake. I should better do some research before I write any comments. Sorry. Oh, isn't that interesting? Einstein was born in Ulm. He took on the Swiss nationality at the start of the 20th century. So in the 1900s. Well, whatever. So, yeah, he's German. Okay. Good video. So you should probably just delete a comment that is totally premised wrong. You know. But anyway, let's see if there's anything. Thanks for this. Explained much better than my mechanic who told me gravity would be ready on Friday and cost $450. I don't even understand that. There's a car called Gravity, I guess. So he just said your gravity. I don't know if mechanical gravity was underrated or not, but I can say that I saw more impressive wings in this one setting than I've seen in a long time. Wigs? More impressive wigs in this one setting than I've seen in a long time. Oh, okay, so that was just talking about the icon with the old guys using to wear the wigs. Please, the guy is called Pancreas. Oh, so somebody else who has to, you know, worry about the irrelevancies. Hi, I'm not too bright. Would someone tell me how long it takes a bell of any kind, any kind of ball or object with mass to reverse direction if tossed straight up on Earth? Oh, dear. Yeah, well, I don't know. That's really important to know, I guess. I guess he's going to throw a ball up in the air, and he wants to know how long it'll take for it to come back. Interesting that you use a capo on your bass. I've not seen that before. I don't know what that is. So some kind of music crap, I guess. What about mod? Modified blah 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 blah. I don't know what that is. Thank you for the clear explanations. History of gravity. So again, this isn't a clear explanation of anything. I wanted to upvote this video at least 4 times during watching it. So why? Why are you so excited about this superficial, idiotic argument being made that we have no choice, all other theories are defeated, we must believe nothing is telling something what to do, the nothing theory is so complete and so pure, how could you possibly argue with the theory of nothing is doing it? Oh, fuck. Let's see. What you can do is upvote and then undo it. This way you can upvote again and you can repeat until you've done 4 times. That's how math works, right? Oh, okay, that's really clever. Oh, fuck. Alright, anyway, enough of this. Look at all this crap, though. All this mindless drivel. Oh, there's Dino. Dino, he used to be a guy on my channel. 1,000 thanks for making this. Yeah, so you showed your true colors. I figured that the theory of mechanical gravity would fall apart because of black holes and gravitational lensing, right? So 2 things that really don't have any evidence. I mean, there's evidence that there's dense material objects in space, don't get me wrong. Like neutron star, that's theoretically rational. Black hole is not theoretically rational. Alright, and gravitational lensing. But we know that that's all, those images are absolute horseshit. They don't obey any rational mathematics. There's no way a mathematician could make any sense out of any of those images. And that's just a fact. Okay, but it doesn't even get that far. The thermodynamic issue seems to be the ultimate nail in the coffin. So more bold talk from dumbasses. So not true at all. I mean, all you have to do is change the kinetic argument a little bit and just understand that, no, things are pushed. And push doesn't mean you bang into it and you die. You know, I run really fast into the brick wall and I die and all my energy goes into the bricks. That's not the only diagram of interaction, retard. But you're a retard, so what do we expect? Which I never even thought to consider. So anyway, thanks again for spending so much time to explore. Didn't explore it at all. The idea. As a side question, what is the closest anyone has come to defining space-time in the context of a substance that can be curved or compressed? Yeah, well, they can't do that. They can't make it a substance, dumbass, because then they'll have a drag problem, shit for brain. God, yeah, you're so fucking stupid. Then they'd be debunking their own theory, you stupid ass. They'd be hitting more bent space as they got velocity, you stupid shit. Oh, man. Okay. Is there any kind of formula that predicts how much space-time gets consumed by a large body like a planet or a star? Hilarious. So now they have that actually being consumed. So they're actually making space-time when black holes spin around each other. Their matter, their electrons and protons eviscerate and turn into space-time, and then the space-time travels across the universe, and then it gets consumed by a mirror on Earth. Oh, you're pathetic. Okay, I know we can predict the amount of gravitational effects from a large body, but is there any way to know just how much universe gets compressed within that volume? Well, obviously the universe doesn't compress, retard, because we'd have to drive through the compressions and that would be a deterrent to our motion. So obviously it can't be anything real like photons. You can't turn it into a material substance. You can't turn it into an ether because then you're going to have drag, jackass. Oh, God. apologies if the question barely makes sense. Yes, that's right, it doesn't. For me, when it comes to physics, simply figuring out how to properly ask a question is one of the most difficult parts. Well, clearly you don't know shit, and yet you're applauding. Great. That makes a lot of sense. I agree completely, even though I don't know shit about it. Alright, so he says, by the way, it's pronounced Dino, like Ferrari, not the T-Rex. I don't know what that means, but he's Dino, like, the dog in the Flintstones. Alright, figuring out question to ask is how to ask it is actually most of the work in physics. Well, gee, that's just too silly. I will admit that I am very far removed from being an expert in general relativity. Huh. Well, then I guess you shouldn't propagandize for it. The most proven theory in the history of mankind. Except I don't know anything about it. Alright, GR is usually taught in 4th year undergrad physics in the UK. Yeah, that's right. So, and you go watch Susskind teaching it. And guess what? He's teaching it as fluid dynamics. With no drag. Just fluid dynamics without the drag. Yeah. But you can guarantee at the end of the 3rd year. Given that I didn't want to spend an extra 9. Okay, here we go. 9 grand on another year of tuition fees and was already accepted into a PhD program. So he didn't even have to he didn't even have to take physics to get into a PhD program apparently. Wow. Gee, that sounds like cheating somehow. 4th year didn't seem like an attractive option. I've always premised myself to spend some time learning GR and have a few textbooks on my desk to remind me, just never get around to it. Oh. So he does this hatchet job on the subject when he's not even an expert. As for your questions, the definition of space-time would very much rely on the question, what is time and what is space? Well, yeah, that's sort of a debate, isn't it? Space, in my opinion, is nothing, okay? Yeah, you can't tell electrons what to do. Oh, fuck. Anyway. This leads to the big problem around falsifiability. Science is always... So again, he makes these claims that somehow the particle model was unfalsifiable when the truth fact is your claims are the ones that are unfalsifiable. Science is always about testing your theories against reality. Scientific theory is always about describing reality. Well, no, it's about explaining it, frankly. Or how it behaves as far as we can see. Trying to understand what time or space actually are is asking what really actually is. You then run into trouble as you are no longer testing an idea against reality. You are testing reality against reality. Well, isn't that the silliest thing ever stated? The fact is you're looking for accurate statements of description. And accurate statements are going to describe causes to effects. That's what being accurate is you've identified the causes properly. That's what an accurate description will look like. If it doesn't have causes in it, it's not describing much. But the question about how much the universe gets compressed is pretty straightforward as I understand it. The thing about space-time is that, regardless of your state, you will always measure the speed of light to be the same. So that how that fixes anything, I do not know. This means that however much space is compressed, time is expanded accordingly and vice versa. I hope that when this video goes public, there will be people who are far more knowledgeable on the subject will read this, correct me, and explain properly. Well, they can't explain it because your premise is silly. Space is nothing and time is a function. They're not players in this whole pageant. They don't have any role to play. They're nothing as causes. Time does not cause anything. Time isn't a place. Time isn't a substance. Time is just a function. An event happens. Photon goes from point A to point B. The only reason why it means anything is because it doesn't do it instantaneously. So that's it. There's a universe because everything doesn't happen instantaneously. Period. So now we have a thing called time, which is just slowness. That's it. Slowness exists, so time exists. Cause, effect. All right, anyway. $9,000, bro. In the U.S., that would have been like 30 or 50 grand. Well, for 1 year, he's saying $9,000 a year. You know, you can get into lots of colleges for $9,000 a year, frankly. Interesting. Maybe you should be more. I mean, you're not going to get your room and board for that. Maybe there should be more coverage of the history and failed attempts at theory, which is interesting. So it's the same comment as some other butthole. Great video. History needs to be brought up from time to time, lest it be forgotten. Yeah, but again, brought up in a context where they just slandered, the argument. They didn't give the argument a fair opportunity to defend itself. They just ridiculed the dead. Alright, so anyway, enough of a video. So, till the next time, I guess I'll pick on some other jackass. And such. Pick at. I'm not really picking on, I'm picking at. I mean, clearly their argument sucks. They won't admit their evidence is weak. They won't admit that, well, they haven't really proven anything. I mean, it's an important word, proof. Proof is an important word. You don't just say it. I proved it. You know, you gotta say it with authority, and you gotta say it with credibility. And they don't have either one of. They say it with authority, but they don't say it with any credibility. And that's important. So they're just incredible. It's just a fact. And such. They're just shitheads. That's a simple truth. Shitheads.